Hello and welcome, I'm Chris and this is the hair tutorial channel, and on this channel I give you weekly hair tutorials on everything from hair cutting, hair colouring to hair ups. So whether you're new to hairdressing or whether you're experienced, there's something here for you. And on this week's hair tutorial I'm going to be looking at a starter kit for college. Whether the college provides them or whether you have to buy them yourselves, what you get in your kit, what you need, and what are the first things that I would suggest upgrading, as well as the things that I use day to day in the salon. So let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to start off by showing you a pretty standard kit, and a big thank you to Devon and Exeter Hair and Beauty Supplies who have let me borrow one of their college kits to show you. Now there are some bits that aren't on the table, but I will be bringing them into view so you can look at them. And just remember as well, college kits will slightly vary from college to college. So for instance, there are no perm rods and there are no setting rollers because most of the colleges do have them. So if you are asked to buy them, that's simply because your college doesn't have spares. So like I said, I'm going to start off by showing you the basics, giving my opinion on them, and then I'm going to show you my kit that I use on a day-to-day so that you can judge what you think you might need to upgrade as you go through the process of becoming a fantastic hairdresser. So I'm going to start with the head block. Okay, this all comes in a bag which I haven't shown in the camera so that you can carry it or put it in a locker, but the head block, okay, this is basically your staple. These cost around about 40 to 50 pounds. Again, I'm going to put the description and the prices for this in the description below so it helps give you a bit of a comparison. But these are not cheap. Now, I've been into colleges, I've taught in colleges, and I've seen these head blocks be given to students, and then the next day they come in, I say, get your head block out, we're gonna just do something on it because everybody's itching to get going. And I've seen these pierced, I've seen these tattooed, I've seen them with makeup on. That's fine, okay? Makes me chuckle. I haven't got a problem with that. However, some students cut them. Do not cut your head block, not for my sake, but for yours. If you go and cut your head block or put a fringe in your head block, you are going to make the next 6 to 8 months of your life very, very difficult. Once you've done that, getting a roller in it, following a certain style of cut, putting foils in, anything you are going to learn for the next 6 to 8 months is going to be very difficult. So if you want to scrawl your name on them, put makeup on them, pierce them, fine. Just do not cut your head block. You are going to need it, and they are not cheap to replace. I run a hairdressing channel, I go through lots of head blocks and it's my biggest expense. So look after them, they're your friend, give them a name. Okay, so let's start with another one that I think is probably, again, one of the most important things, and that's gonna be your scissors. Okay, so in this pack, again, around £35, price is below, you're gonna get a pair of scissors and a pair of thinning scissors. Okay, once again, very exciting. The sort of the make and the type that you will get will depend massively again. But these are great scissors just to get you started. And at the end of the video, I'm going to be talking about different scissors, different types of scissors, and the ones that I use as well. Okay, so now on to combs. Once again, you get a nice little wrap that has all different types of combs within them. In this one, we have a nice 9-piece carbon fiber set, and that is actually a pretty nice set of all the different types of comb that you're going to need. You have different cutting combs in these two wide tooth combs for combing through. You have a long cutting comb. You have a barbering comb. You have a dressing out comb, and you have 2 types of pintail comb used again for hair up, for colouring and for highlighting. So you have a plastic one and a metal one. This is a nice little set of combs. So yeah, that's pretty cool, I'd buy that. So then we move on to our brushes. So we have 4 different types of round brush: large, medium, small and very small. We have what is called a Denman brush. Okay, this is really good for fringes, short hair, generally sort of detangling the hair as well. It's very useful for it. You then have a vent brush. A vent brush, very good for short hair, or if you want to get some flicks going in the hair, they're really good for that because the air passes through. And then you have two types of dressing out brush. You've got something that I typically call a Mason and Pearson. That's actually a make of a brush. Okay, and a small dressing out brush. So if you're going to do hair up, or you want to dress out some curls, these are your sort of your go-to brushes that you're going to use. Okay, then you have a razor. Razors are fantastic if you're going to look at maybe doing more gents into the barbering for shaving, cutting round edges, but they can also be used in hairdressing for getting texture in hair. Now, these can cost anything from a couple of pounds right the way up to basically whatever you're going to spend. However, most of them take a disposable blade. Those disposable blades are pretty standard, so it actually doesn't really matter so much if you're going to buy a couple of pound one or whether you're going to buy a couple of £100 one, because the blades going in them are very, very similar. Then we move on to our pins and our grips. Okay, I'm going to start with these because you probably have seen these on multiple occasions. I call them crocodile clips or butterfly clips. They're the large clips that you open up and people scrunch their hair up, put them up with. I actually have a real pet hate for these. I very, very rarely use them, and I would struggle to even find one in my house. And the reason I don't like them is because if you're going to use them for actually sectioning off a colour or a haircut, you can end up causing yourself some real problems because they can mark the hair. Either when you're doing colouring, the colour tends to get caught in the teeth, you then unclip it and put it in your clothes, you've then got colour in your clothes, or you unclip it and put it in another bit of hair, and you've got a giant tooth mark in the hair. These are not my favourite things. They can have their uses, but chances are you're going to lose them within the first couple of weeks anyway, but that's what tends to happen with pins, grips and clips. They vanish. Next you have your standard section clips. These are nice, strong, good section clips that I would use, but you're going to lose them. So don't buy anything too fancy or too expensive, because you are in your lifetime as a hairdresser going to go through hundreds of these. You will lose them, and then you will find them attached to you somewhere on a night out when you least expect it. You're then going to get boxes of different types of pins and grips, and generally again these aren't something that the college are going to provide because they just tend to get lost. They split open in your bag, they go under units. You can use hundreds when you're doing your first hair up, and then they end up in the bin. So once you get from your head block onto real people, you're going to want to protect them with a gown and with a cutting collar. Now generally, again, the colleges supply the colour, supply the product, supply the foil that you're going to use for colouring, as well as the bowls and the brushes. However, again, a cap. These aren't used so much in salons these days. However, I have seen them making a bit of a comeback, especially on guys who have short hair. They have a purpose. So like anything, sometimes it's always handy to learn. They're not that difficult to use, and they do come in useful. Okay, moving into the final stretch of products. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this video, like and subscribe. I have more foundation tutorials in my playlist called Foundation, which I'll link in the description below, along with everything else, as well as put it in a card up here. We move on to our electrics. So our dryers, our tongs, and our straighteners. So we have a nice hairdryer. Again, I can remember starting with something very similar when I first started. It's got some power to it, it's got a nozzle in it, so you can direct the flow of the heat when you are blow drying. And yeah, all round, not a bad piece of kit and not a bad price. Then we come to our tongs. Tongs are used for curling the hair. Yes, there are other things other than straighteners that can curl the hair, and they will come in very different sizes, from very large to very, very small. And these are just a medium set. Finally, before we move on to looking at what I use in my everyday kit, is our straightening irons. Yes, world famous by now, not the world famous ones, but a good make and certainly good to get you going and get you started. Okay, so now let's have a little look at the bits that I most frequently use and I would recommend. Okay, so before I move on, I'd just like to say there is absolutely nothing wrong with any of the kit that I have shown you. So if you look after that kit, that is going to see you all the way through college and onto the salon floor. You may not want to upgrade, or you may not be able to upgrade until you get onto the salon floor. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there are only a few pieces that personally I would actually look to change. So if you want to and if you can, then these are what I would suggest. The first thing is gonna be your scissors. And the reason behind this is because I would say that probably 70% of my work is color work, and that another 25% of my work is cutting, leaving just 5% for things like hair up, perming, and everything else. So besides coloring, cutting is the biggest thing that I do. And a good pair of scissors is going to last you a very long time. I paid a little bit extra for my scissors when I first started hairdressing, and they lasted me 6 years through my training and onto the salon floor. Now, sometimes when you tell people how much a pair of scissors cost, running into hundreds of pounds, they sort of take a very sharp, deep breath. But when you actually break that down into how often you're using them and the number of days that you actually use them, it doesn't equate to a lot of money. A good quality pair of scissors will not only stay sharper longer and give you a better cut, but also the ergonomics of them are probably much more comfortable for you when you're using them. And if you want to learn more about that, I'll link a video on scissors up here. I use a pair of Ahoy scissors, and I'll put a link below with a discount code where you get discount off these and a couple of other different sets of scissors. They're a good quality scissor, they're really comfortable, and they're going to last you a long time, and they're very reasonably priced, from 100, well, up to whatever you really want to pay for them. And the next thing I would upgrade is my brushes. Now, not all of the brushes, the combs and the Denman and the vent brush are perfectly fine. However, it's with the round brushes. I personally like to use a natural bristle brush. I feel that this gives a much smoother look to the hair, and I just like the feel of it on the hair. Now again, these don't come in at a very costly price. I use the GHD ones, and this was only £20, and they quite often as well have discounts on them. And there are again 4 sizes to these, but I only use the size 3 and the size 2. But the main reason I upgraded to the GHD one again would be comfort. The length of the handle on this brush is much longer than ones that you get on other types of brushes. So on this brush, my hand is struggling to fit. So as I'm turning and trying to get leverage as I'm blow drying, it actually starts to cause pain in my wrist and my arm. Whereas with the GHD brush, you can see I've actually got a little bit of excess sticking out from my hand, and it just means I can start to move my hand down the handle a little bit more and then slide it back up. So I'm not constantly trying to keep my hand on the handle, and it doesn't cause me as much discomfort. And yes, finally, it's your straightening tools. And yes, it is GHDs. Now, there are other brands out on the market that are just as good. But when you think that you may be investing 40 or 50 pounds in a pair of straighteners to start with, going up to sort of £100 on a basic set of GHDs or one of the other brands makes a little bit more sense to me, because even if you quit hairdressing, the chances are you're still going to use these. Now the GHDs I've got laying on the table probably look a little bit tatty and beaten, and there's a good reason for that, because I've actually had these over 9 years. So I've got a medium set and a large set. And again, on the salon floor, I do use tongs occasionally, but generally I will use these to either straighten the hair or to curl with the hair. And having the two different sizes means that I can intermix and get different sizes of curl or different types of wave in the hair. As I said, everything else you get in the kit is something that I would actually use. So just look after whatever you get, and the main thing is to enjoy it and have fun. Remember about that head block. Don't go cutting it. It is a fantastic career to be in and an amazing experience. So don't forget to check out some other videos, and I hope to see you again.